class is in memory of Jared Orchen, and we will study today chapter 38 in the book of Psalm. Page 105 actually. And we will start beginning of chapter 38.
A psalm by David, a reminder. God, do not rebuke me in your anger, nor chastise me in your fury. For your arrows have struck me, and your hand has come down hard on me. There is nothing left unblemished in my body because of your fury. There is no well-being in my bones because of my sins. For my sins have passed over my head.
Okay, we'll stop right here. For my sins have passed over my head. What does this mean, that my sins passed over my head? The Chassidus explains that in every person's head and heart, there is a love to God, a natural love to God. That's why we know the famous Jewish law that says, we mentioned many times, then that if somebody is supposed to give a get and he doesn't want to give a get, giving a divorce has to be willingly. And if the person doesn't want to give the divorce, we force him to give the divorce, according to Maimonides. But if you force him that it's not willingly, then what's the joke? That the answer is that deep down, every Jew wants to do the will of God. Every Jew has a natural love to the will of God, to God. Just like a child to his parents, naturally loves his parent. It's there. And what happens? Why sometimes you don't feel it? Because sometimes the sins are separating us from God, are pushing us away from God, are covering up the connection. They're making it, there is smoke, and sometimes you cannot see clear. They go over your head, over your belief, over your love to God. That's what the sins accomplish. They kill the clarity of your connection to God. Children have a clear connection to God. That's why when we need prayers to be effective, we gather Jewish children. That's why Mordechai gathered Jewish children in the story of Purim to pray to God. Because they do not have sins, because they are not responsible for sins. They are before Bar Mitzvah and Bat Mitzvah. They are not responsible for sins. And therefore, their prayers, they have a clear connection.
You also see it in the fact that Mordechai would ask them, what were they studying? You see that multiple times.
Again, the same idea. There is, when you ask them, it's like a prophecy. That's why we love to look on a baby, because the baby has this connection to God that sins did not ruin him yet. Whereby us, my sins have passed over my head. They covered up. And therefore, when we clean it up a little bit, we can make the connection. Continue.
This has to be, well, it says a psalm for times of distress.
You're right.
But, David really, supposedly didn't really sin too much. This is such a horrible psalm about David's problems.
David says that he's suffering a lot, yeah.
And
not so much about his sins, about his suffering. Continue, number 5.
Like a heavy weight, they have become too burdensome for me. My wounds are putrid and rotted because of my folly. I am greatly distorted and bent. I walk about in gloom all day long. For my loins are fully inflamed, and there is nothing unblemished in my body. I am completely numbed and crushed. I scream from the anguish of my heart. God, you are aware of all my yearning, and my groaning is not hidden from you. My mind is spinning, my strength fails me. The light of my eyes has left me. My friends and companions stand aloof from my affliction. My close ones stand at a distance. Those who seek my life lay traps. Those who wish me harm speak malice.
Basically, everybody runs away from me. Number 14, yeah.
And utter deceit all day long. But I am like a deaf man, I do not hear, and like a mute who does not open his mouth.
The Medrash reads into this line, "V'ani kecheresh lo yeshma." It's describing Abraham. Abraham, when God told him, "Go to sacrifice your son," he made himself like he's deaf. What it made him? He didn't open his mouth. He could argue with God that it doesn't make sense because by this he's really destroying all the belief of God, because they're all work that Abraham did is so the best proof for Abraham that there is a God, that he had a child when he was 99 years old. And suddenly God tells him to kill him before he has children that will destroy his whole movement, his whole beliefs, his whole agenda, everything that he sells. Then it's not good for God, not just not good for Abraham. But Abraham made himself like that, like somebody's mute who doesn't, he didn't ask any questions. Therefore, in return, we ask Hashem that when the Jewish people come for forgiveness, come to ask for a good ear, God should not hear and listen to the persecutors, to the Satan, and he should go ahead and give the Jews a good life. Go ahead.
I am like one who does not hear and has no sharp retorts. For I hope in you, God, you will answer, God, my God. For I reason, lest they will rejoice over me. If my foot should slip, they would lord it over me. I am on the verge of collapse, and my pain is always with me. For I acknowledge my iniquity, I am worried because of my sin. For my enemies are alive and powerful, and my treacherous foes keep growing. Those who repay evil for good detest me because of my pursuit of virtue. Do not abandon me, God, my God. Be not distant from me. Hasten to my aid, God, my Savior.
Yeah, it is a painful chapter. I agree. I agree. Even the Medrash doesn't say much about this chapter. It's a hard chapter. King David says how he felt in the time that he was in so much trouble. No question about it.
Which trouble was this? This is, or it's not.
Looks like when he was running away from Saul or something like this. Let's read chapter 39.
For the leader by Yedusan, a psalm of David. I decided I would watch my step from sinning with my tongue. I will keep muzzle on my mouth, while the wicked stand in my presence.
Basically, I will not say anything bad.
I was mute, silent. I was very still, not uttering even good, though my pain was intense.
Mm-hmm.
My mind was enraged. My thoughts were all aflame, as my tongue spoke out.
Okay, this line, it's interesting. Look on the Hebrew side, Daled. Cham libi bekirbi. My heart is hot inside me. I have a warm heart. Be'agigi tivaresh, in my thoughts will be a fire. My thoughts are on fire. Dibarti bilshoini, I will speak with my tongue. Right? That's the right translation. I mean, the English translation here is a little, my mind was in rage. I don't know, I wouldn't say in a rage. Hamli bibikibi could also mean this, but could also mean I'm very excited, I'm very hot. My thoughts were all aflame. Okay. If you look good, it's an interesting Rashi Teves. You know what a Rashi Tevot is? The an acronym for a very famous name of a movement, of a very famous movement.
Chabad?
Look, Cham libi bekirbi is the het. Be'agigi tivareish is the bet, you see? Dibarti bilshoini. Het, bet, daled. See it?
Mm-hmm.
And really, it really describes what Chabad is all about. The idea that you have to work with your heart and your mind and your words, you are all excited, you're on fire. Because serving Hashem is not just something, there is people who serve Hashem, but it's dead. There's no excitement. There's no life. They go to shul, they come from shul, they come, they go, they come. It's routine. Routine is the enemy of spirituality. People love routine. But the routine makes you into a robot. Time you get up in the morning, you're down. The change, the life, the excitement, the doing something different. Then being on fire, that's what it's all about. Judaism has to have a fire. When the fire dies out, then it's over. That's what this line is. The next one, number 5.
Let me know, God, my end.
Let me know, God. What does this mean? Oidieni Hashem kitzi. And then what's the next line? Go ahead, continue.
What is the measure of my days?
What does this mean?
How long is my life going to be?
Yeah.
And so I can realize how transient I am.
King David was asking Hashem, when is he going to die? He wanted to know how much time he has. He'll go to his accountant. He will calculate how many days he has, and he will straighten his calculation by this. What Hashem told them? Hashem told them, no human being knows how long he will be alive. That's a decree from God. What Hashem told them, what he can tell them is, the Medrash says Hashem told them one thing, that he will die on Shabbat. King David said, maybe I'll die on Saturday night. Hashem told him, no, that's already Solomon's time. Maybe I'll die on Friday afternoon. He told him, no, you still have things to do in the world. You cannot miss 1 minute. That every Shabbat, King David knew that could be, God told him he'll die on Shabbos. That's what I told you? Yeah? Then he told them, every Shabbat, he told them that King David was especially learning Torah on Shabbat. But more than that, on Saturday night, he used to make a party. He has another week. You know that we have a meal, Saturday night meal, Motzei Shabbos. You have to eat a meal Friday night meal. There is a Shabbos day meal. It's not a tuna sandwich, a meal. You have to make Kiddush, and you eat, break, and you say Amotzi and Chales, and you eat cholent, and before that you eat the fish. That's a whole meal. Then there is Shalosh Shudas, right? The third meal. Many people have a small meal, or some people learn Torah instead. And then there is a Saturday night meal. Friday night is Abraham. Shabbos day is Isaac. Shabbos afternoon, the Shalosh Shudas, Shalosh Shudas means, Shalosh Seudot means the third meal, is Jacob. And Saturday night, it's called Seutze de David Malke Meshiche, the meal of King David, the king Moshiach. Why is this the meal of King David? Because King David used to make every Saturday night a party, celebrating the years another week. That's why every Saturday night we have a meal, and it's called the meal of King David. Why? All because of this line. He wanted to know when he will die. God told him, I cannot tell you, but he cannot tell him, but God told him which day of the week it will happen.
Didn't Hezekiah have some sort of inkling as to when he was going to die?
No, Hezekiah, only the king, he was sick. The prophet Isaiah came and told them that he's going to die because he sinned. And he actually turned around to God and he prayed to God, and God gave him another 15 years, but he never knew when he went. No.
So how long after he said that did he die?
It's not clear. I cannot tell you when, in which part of
You
his
don't know how many
life.
parties he had.
Oh, it's hard to know. Well, it could be a lot.
That's
Could be a lot.
Enough so it's stuck in history.
Exactly. Stuck in history for a few more reasons, but yeah.
But we know how many years he lived, though.
He lived 70 years. That we know. Continue.
Behold, you have measured my life in handbreadths. My lifespan is like nothing in your sight. Every man exists as a mere breath. Salah. Man walks about in a shadow.
What does this mean? Man walks about in a shadow. Then the Jerusalem Talmud says, Ach betzelem isa lechish. A man should go around with an image in his mind. That's what literally could be translated. Ach betzelem isa. A man should have an image in his mind. What kind of image should a man have in mind? Don't we talk about we are not allowed to have images, right? What means the man should have an image in his life? That when it's written, the Talmud says, when a person repeats a word of Torah from his teacher, he should think that the teacher stands in front of his eyes. That's what he says. Why? Because then he will say it with more enthusiasm, with more life, with more excitement. And it will be probably also more accurate, more closer to the original thought that he heard from his teacher. You understand what I'm saying? There's a famous story about some disciple came to his Rebbe and told him, Rebbe, forgive me, sometimes I say your words in my name, my own name, I take credit of it. He says, for this I'll forgive you. But if you say you things in my name, for this I don't forgive you. Then the same thing is here. And the Rebbe took it even further, that if you go to do a mission that the Rebbe told you, and you have the Rebbe in front of your eyes, in your mind, you'll be more successful because you'll have more strength. That has to be accomplished, and the Rebbe is at you, and it's going to happen. That the image of in your mind should be what, and that's will make you a walker. It's written, the language is in number 7. Man walks about in a shadow. When you become, what means to become a walker? Who walks and who stands? You know? Who are considered omdim and who are considered me'alchim? Who are considered people who stand?
Angels stand.
Very good. Angels are standing. They don't get elevated. They don't progress. They don't grow. Wherever the level is, there is many levels of angels, right? Srophim, Chayos, Ephani, everyone. Wherever it is, it's stuck. You cannot ask for promotion. We're human being, souls of human beings, when they're alive, they can grow. They can go further and further. Then, when you become a walker, when you have the image of your Rebbe in front of your eyes, and you walk, it gives you the strength to walk, to grow in your spirituality, to get closer to God.
You know, there's actually a Woody Allen version of this. In one of his movies, I forget which one it is, he's got his mother up in the clouds in giant form. You know, the entire sky is covered with his mother. That he constantly can
That's
hear
a motivator.
her lecturing him. Yeah,
That's interesting. The
Yeah,
same
all the
idea.
guilt.
All the guilt.
But why man walks about in a shadow and then he says he hustles in vain? So that's kind of negative. So man walks about in the shadow in the sense that
If he doesn't, if the shadow is not of his Rebbe, then he hustles in vain.
Okay.
Then he's in trouble. Then he wastes his time. Okay, we'll continue.
he hustles in vain, amassing wealth, not knowing who will acquire it.
Yeah, we acquire wealth, and then what? Then what? At least if you know, many people keep their money, then they will give it after life. They will donate it to institutions. Why to wait until after? We can enjoy your mitzvahs while you're alive. That's called olamcha tireh b'chayecha. You see your afterlife in your life while you're alive. People keep it for the children, and then they move on, and the children are the only thing that happens is they're fighting. They never talk to each other. Instead, give them when they can enjoy it, and you can enjoy them seeing how they enjoy it. In any case, go ahead.
And now what I can expect, O God, my hope lies in you. Save me from all my transgressions. Do not make me the butt of scoundrels. I am mute. I do not open my mouth, for it is your doing. Take your plague away from me. I am consumed from the blows of your might. You punish a person with the penalties of sin, consuming his treasures like a moth. But man is no more than a breath, Salah.
No more than a breath is nothing. In 1 second, it's gone.
Hear my prayers, God, and give ear to my cry. Do not disregard my tears, for I am...
Shimot Filosi, listen to my prayers. Sha'avosi azino, my cry. That's interesting that he translates Sha'avosi as cry. I think Leshaveh means to beg, but also cry. But then he says, to my tears you will not, do not disregard my tears. The Medrash says that after the destruction of the temple, prayers not necessarily God will always accept. But tears, the gates of tears were never closed. That's why we say it in the prayers of Yom Kippur, Shared Mois, that the gates of tears will never be closed. It means tears will always be accepted by God, will always break through, will always have an effect.
Why did it take 70 or 80 years in Egypt for the tears to break through?
Now you're asking the same question they asked in the movie, right?
I don't know if they asked that one.
I read in one of the reviews that they said that that's the movie.
Okay.
That's the question that Moses was asking. Moses said, when I will come to the Jewish people, they'll ask me, what's God's name, right? This week's parsha. What kind of a what exactly Moses was saying? What was God's name? You'll tell him God's name is Joshua. Now you're happy? Or do you have another name? What was Moses afraid? I'll come to the Jewish people and ask me, what's his name? I'll tell him, I'll give him a name and an address. Let him go look for. What was the conversation God gave him? The Rebbe once spoke about it, something amazing. He says, there is 7 names of God, right? 7 ways how the names describe how he treats the world, his relationship with the world. What's a name? A name is something, who needs a name? You don't need a name for yourself. Right? A person doesn't talk to himself by his name, to himself. Zusha, if you have to talk to yourself with your name, you're a little off. That's a time that you have to see somebody. People don't talk, you don't need a name for yourself. A name is for other people, right? Then why we need a name? A name is a relationship with others. The names of God is how his relationship to the world, how he relates to humanity, to the world in general. Then there is Havaya, Shem Hashem, represents kindness. Elohim represents judgment. Right? That Moses is saying, I'll come to the Jewish people, they'll ask me, and what name was he operating? This is not kindness, and not even judgment. What is it?
It's the highest name.
What's going on here? They were asking, where was God? For 70 years, for 80 years. And what name was he operating? That was the question for Moses. What was his name? They're asking, what's his name, basically? And what name and what system was he operating? It doesn't make sense. Like the Holocaust, what is happening here? It's not even judgment. It's beyond anything human being can comprehend. What God answered them? What God said?
I will be what I be.
I am
I am
what
who
I will be.
I am who I am. Basically,
I am.
you cannot understand me. That's what God really answered. It's above logic. That's what God answered. That you are asking, why didn't God hear the cry? I will not answer the question. If God didn't answer the question, I will answer the question. I'm just telling you that the cry of people is being accepted by God more than anything. Because what is tears? Tears comes from a point that touched you so deep where words cannot express anymore. It's beyond words. That's really the core of the person.
Well, it's Hannah, that's how we learned how to do in the Midah, based on Hannah. That's the tears.
She cried, yeah.
cried.
That's why she got her prayer. What do you want to say?
What is the relationship between Eye, Asher, Eye, and Yud He Vav He?
Complicated. Let's continue.
What about Salah? What is that
What's
supposed to
Selah?
mean?
Selah means forever. There is 3 words who are representing the word forever. Netzach. The Netzach, Netzachim, right? Then there is Selah. Then there is Voed. We say Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. What's Vaed means? Blessed is God forever and ever. It's Vaed. Netzach Netzachim is forever and ever. Selah is forever and ever. Then when the Rebbe wanted to say something is forever, he used to say Netzach, Selah, Voed.
That's
Forever.
Cover all the bases.
Exactly.
Is I have to remember. Selah was a word of rock. No.
Yeah, it's like it could be also like rock, like strong forever. It could also be. I mean, even that Selah with rock is with the ayin, not with the a. But here the same. Let's continue the same line.
For I am with you, an alien, resident.
What does this mean? For I'm with you, an alien, resident.
Well, Abraham says this when he goes to buy the Mount.
Abraham said, a resident like all my forefathers. Then first of all, Abraham, right, when he wanted to buy the property for his wife, to bury his wife on the cave of Machpelah, in Hebron, he told to the people of Chet, the Hittite, he told them, Ger v'toshav anochi mochem, I'm an alien and a resident. What he really meant with it?
Well, he was given the land by God. But
what he told them, I'm not one of you. I live with you. I'm a resident, but I'm an alien. I'm a stranger. I'm a stranger, but a resident. On one end, I'm a resident. I pay taxes. I go to the army. I fight your wars. I'm with you in everything. On the other end, I'm a stranger. I have different traditions. I have different customs. I'm not one of you. Ger v'toshav anochi imochem. That's what he says here. I'm an alien and a resident. But there is more to it. Here, King David says, I'm an alien and a resident. Well, first of all, we see it in life. Jewish people, wherever we go, we are not real resident. We're alien. We're different. People, there is the big question: you're an American or you're Jewish? What comes first? Because you're really living in a country, but your heart and mind is in Jerusalem, so to speak, right? A Jew always has something higher in his life. It's not just what he has in it. But more than that, there is a famous story about Reb Zusha of Anipoli. My namesake, right? It was a story about a chassid of the Maggid of Mezrich. Came to complain to the Maggid of Mezrich that his life is, things are hard. He gave him a bracha, then he told him, go home. On the way, stop by in the city, Anipoli, and there, stop by. I have one of my disciples, Reb Zusha. Go stop by, visit him. Fine. He arrives to Anipoli. He's asking about Reb Zusha, the big disciple of the Maggid of Mezrich. Everybody tells him they don't know such a thing. Finally, somebody told him, oh, maybe you mean Zusha. There is a Zusha in the end of the city who is actually a teacher. Well, maybe it's him. He goes to the edge of the city, the poorest neighborhood available. He saw from the window, he sees a guy sitting teaching kids. He's sitting on a piece of wood, and the kids are sitting on the floor. And he's teaching. He knocks on the door, he lets him, he says, I want to talk to you. He says, I finished the kids, I'll talk to you. Meanwhile, he's sitting, he says, poverty like he never saw in his life. Terrible. He's thinking to himself, before he started to speak to Rabbi Zusha, he said, what my Rebbe wanted to show me, that there are poorer people than me. I know that. What's the big deal? What kind of a comfort is it? Oh, poor people. Then finally he finished the learning. He said, oh, how are you? He said, I'm coming from the Rebbe, from the Maggid. He said, oh, he was so excited. How's the Rebbe doing and what's going on? Tell him, what are you doing here? He says, the Rebbe sent me I complained that I don't have enough livelihood. He sent me to you. He said, sent me to you? I don't know why. Why choose me? I don't miss anything. That's what he thought. Not that he's poor and he suffers, so I have everything I need. Then the chassid asked him, Reb Zusha, I'm not a rich man, but in my house there is a table, there is chairs, there is... What's going on here? You say you don't need it? He told him, you're a businessman, you go on the road, you travel a lot. He said, yes. When you travel, you have all your convenience with you. He said, no, I live on my suitcase. He said, you're not convenient. What would it everything? He said, all my convenience, I have it when I come home, I have everything. But on the road, I'm on the road. Rabbi Zusha told them, I'm on the road, my friend. We are all on the road. And on the road, we don't need all the conveniences. We are strangers and aliens. We are on the road. It doesn't make a difference a little more, a little less. We are on the road. When I come to my destination, we'll have everything. That's how Reb Zusha of Anipoli looks on life. And that's what he says here. We are a ger. We are gerim. Gerim here, we are strangers in this world. The world doesn't click to me. When you feel in a place and you're a stranger in a place, you don't feel comfortable. It's not your neighborhood. You're not in your comfort zone. To a Jewish soul, to a Jewish person, the whole physical and material world should be not his comfort zone. It's not his thing. Yeah, he has to eat, he eats. He has to sleep, he sleeps. He has to make a living, he makes a living. But that's not him. Where is he? In the synagogue, and he learns Torah. He gets all excited. Suddenly you recognize a new person. That's what he's saying. Let's finish the chapter. Turn away.
Turn away from me, so that I may recover before I go and am no more.
Mm-hmm. What does it mean to turn away from me? So that I may recover. I mean,
maybe not punishing me.
maybe that's what I thought, maybe.
It's actually interesting. Turn away from me.
It sounds like stop punishing me.
Yeah, but
Well, kind of, but it's
you
very...
still
it's
don't
very
want
strange
to Hashem to turn away,
away
from
from
you.
you. You never chase any, yeah.
Yeah, it's unusual. I didn't pay attention to it, but you're right. Chapter 40.
For the leader by David, a psalm. I have put my hope in Hashem. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the deep pit from the slimy mud and set my feet upon a rock.
You know who Hashem lifted my dip from a deep pit and put him on his...
Joseph.
Joseph, exactly.
He steadied my steps. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn to our Hashem. Multitudes see it and stand in awe and trust in Hashem. Happy is the man who puts his trust in Hashem.
Okay, we'll stop by... Okay, continue.
And he did not turn to the arrogant and followers of deceit.
Okay. The Talmud says, Ashre HaGever Asher Som Hashem Yiftachoi. Who is the man that should be, I'd say, should be happy is the man who put his trust in God. Is Joseph. It's a continuation of Joseph's story, right?
Is that line part of the Ashrei?
Well, sort of a theme from the Ashrei.
The same word, Ashrei,
Yeah.
but the rest is not. Asher HaGever Asher Som Hashem Yiftachoi, that's we say it by the ending of benching, right? Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach Hashem. That's a little different. In any case, this the Talmud says that Joseph had a lot of trust in God. Therefore, wherever he went, he was successful. When he was sold as a slave, he right away by Potiphar's house, right? He was appointed as chief of staff. Then he was thrown into jail. He was appointed at the end of the jail. Everything was by him. And then, for a small moment, he lost his faith. What he did? Told the butler,
Oh, don't forget
right?
me.
When you see Pharaoh, tell him about me. I'm sitting here for no reason. He told the butler the expression, remind me to Pharaoh. He said to the butler twice, remind me to Pharaoh. The Talmud says because he said twice the word remind me, he got another 2 years in jail. He was supposed to sit only 10 years in jail. He was 12 years in jail.
But it's more the intention because we're supposed to...
One second. Then we see, then the question is like this. The Talmud says it, the end of Parshas Miketz ends with this Rashi. That a person should have trust only in Hashem. Because he trusted the butler, what's written in the end of Parshas Miketz? What happened with the butler?
Forgot.
He forgot him, right? Not only he forgot him, it's written, he didn't remember and he forgot it. The Torah wants to stress this point. V'lo zachar Sarah Mashkim, he didn't remember, the butler didn't remember him, and he forgot him, Vayishkocheu. And that's how ends the parsha, Vayishkocheu, with this word.
He wasn't the first person who knew that, Joseph. Huh?
You're right, it's interesting. Then and Rashi comes and says, why? Because Joseph told them to remind them. Wasn't it an obligation for Joseph to do it? Hashem sends you a messenger. If Joseph wouldn't do it, it would be a crime.
Do what? Ask
To-
him?
to-
Ask him to talk to Pharaoh.
You have to do everything you can in your power.
Why couldn't the butler do it on his own?
Hashem sends you a man who is going out of jail, and he saw your powers. What happened with the butler? He interpreted his dream, and exactly what Joseph said happened, right? Then wouldn't be the right thing to tell him. It would be a crime not to use the butler. Yeah, God,
He's
let's
anti-Semitic.
say he will pray to God, and God tell him, I sent you the butler, and you missed the
He
opportunity.
didn't like Hebrews.
Right? More than that, when Jacob was afraid of Esau, was he just trusting Hashem,
No.
or he did something?
Prepared.
He sent presents, he prepared for a war, he prayed for God. Then for Jacob it's okay, and for Joseph it's not. Abraham also did things, and he went to war to save Lot. He didn't just pray to God and said that's going to happen by itself. For example, there's another story. You know, there's a story about Prophet Samuel. First he appointed Saul, right? He appointed Saul, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Saul messed up, right? Hashem told him, go and appoint David. You know what Samuel told God? What Samuel told God? You should know. Hashem told Samuel, go and appoint David in Bethlehem as a king. What he told him? You know what Samuel
He
told
didn't
him?
want to. I
Oh,
think.
why?
He didn't want to.
Why?
Saul was a Benjamite. Why did he tell? Because he thought Saul was the right king.
No. Why he didn't want to go to appoint David as a king? He said, the Shoma Shaul Varagoni. He says, if Saul will hear that I appointed another king, they'll kill me. And you don't read in the Bible, it's not written in the Bible, oh, yo, Samuel did a terrible thing, he doesn't have faith in God. God accepted it as a good argument. God told them, go and don't make a big thing, and he did it.
Well, it's interesting what you're talking about. All of a sudden, to have trust in God, it's like you're not letting the world happen, and you're not interacting with it. Like you're not.
Then the question is, having trust in God, Jacob had trust in God, Isaac had trust in God, Abraham, and they still did physical things, they still took measures. Why from Joseph we are expecting a higher level of trust? That's a question. Why what was good for Jacob and kosher for Samuel is not kosher for Joseph? Chassidus explains something very interesting. What was the difference between the forefathers and Joseph? What was the argument between the brothers and Joseph? What was the real argument? The forefathers were shepherds. Why they were shepherds?
Because total reliance on Hashem.
They didn't want to deal with the world. Right? Mm-hmm. Why they didn't want to deal with the world? Because they were afraid that the world will confuse them. Mm-hmm. Will take them away from serving God. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That means the world is a place by them. The world is a real thing, and it's a contradiction to them. That they were in a level that the world was something to be afraid of, and they run away from the world. What does Joseph? Joseph says, "I'm going to the world. I'm not afraid of the world. The world I'm not influences me whatsoever. I can be the ruler of Egypt and be connected to God." They said we cannot be connected to God in downtown Cleveland, in Manhattan. And Joseph said we can be connected to God in Manhattan too.
So he had a momentary
For
lapse.
somebody who is the world doesn't affect him, is expected a higher level of faith. You understand what I'm saying? He doesn't have to worried about doing measures, physical measures, to take tools, to take effort to do something to help himself. He doesn't have to do vessels. People who the world is a real thing and they're afraid of the world, they better do something because they don't have this level of connection that they are not afraid of anything.
So there's only somebody at the level of a tzaddik who trusts in God without doing something by themselves as a partnership?
There is two levels of tzaddikim. I mean, there is many levels of tzaddikim. But there's a level of a tzaddik that the world takes place in his eye. I mean, the world is the world. Yeah, he believes in God, but he's impressed and is influenced by the world.
But nonetheless, we see. I mean, Moshe, he has to put his finger to lift up. That
Not
Hashem
Moshe.
helps him lift it.
No, it's not
It is-
Moshe. That's a different
No,
person.
that's I'm not talking about I'm talking about the lifting up for putting together the tabernacle.
Taking a medrash. The point is, Moses was actually on this level,
Right.
that he wasn't afraid of the whole world, of anything. He says, God will don't worry, God will fight for you. Moses brought manna down from heaven. I mean,
Was that a character?
Moses was on a whole different level.
It was out of character for him.
But what I mean to say is that was the difference in Joseph and the forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They were tzaddikim, but the world was a world. Don't say the world is nothing. The world is something. And if the world what does this mean in our language, in our world? Some people say, yeah, I hear what the Torah says, but scientists says this way, and the doctor said this way, and the world says this way. That we cannot, we have to take in consideration all the opinions. Joseph's approach is, if God said the world doesn't hold any water, It's what God says. And whatever God wants to work out somehow. And was expected from Joseph, he shouldn't even talk to the butler. Nothing. Or at least, even you talk to the butler, don't put your faith on the butler. But on a higher level, he shouldn't even talk to the butler. Joseph should say, me? He says what he saw. He saw wherever he went that he's successful. He's in jail, he's successful. He's by Potiphar, he's successful. Everybody runs after him, right? Potiphar's wife runs after him. Then he had to feel, he was on such a level connection that he said, well, if Hashem wants, he'll take me out. Not everybody can say it. You have to be there. You have to really live all by this level of faith. You cannot make this up. But that's what he's expect. Well, that was his expect. That's why that's what he says here. Happy is a man who puts his trust in God and did not turn to the arrogance and the followers of the seat. And the Talmud says, where the arrogance follow of the seat, the Egyptian who are following of the seats. That's what he's referring to. Okay, we'll turn to page 113.
Hashem,
Next page.
my Hashem, you have done many things. Your wonders and thoughts are for us. You have no equal, but I relate and speak of them, for they are too numerous to recount. You do not desire sacrifice and meal offerings. You made my ears receptive. You do not ask for burnt offerings and sin offerings.
God does need, as kings, as Samuel said, right? Mm-hmm. And as in many places, God doesn't want offerings. God would open ears to listen to God. Go ahead.
So what's his critique of the sacrificial system here? I mean, it's pre-temple, but there's still, it's not the Mishkan, but what's going on at that time where there's still sacrifices, right?
You see, it's interesting. I mean, there were sacrifices there. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there was some level of sacrificing going on. I mean, it's written when he brought the ark, King David, he offered sacrifices, right? Every few steps. Mm-hmm. And
Noah.
I mean, sure, sacrifices are always. I mean,
Solomon offered a lot.
But what I mean to say is, what he says is, sacrifices are welcomed by God when they come with a broken heart and spirit. When they come with the right intention. It's not that God is against sacrifices, but if you think that the sacrifice will be replacing my behavior instead of me repenting, atoning for my sin, changing my ways, I'm going to pay for a good fat sacrifice. That's what he's saying. God doesn't need it. God wants ears to listen.
Is that why they would use that expression, to bring an offering, bring it of yourself, of your heart?
Yeah, that's what they say. Adam Kiakib Mekem,
prayers, God wants the heart.
Yeah.
Then I said, behold, I have arrived, for it is written about me in the scroll of the book. To what pleases you, my Hashem, is my desire. Your Torah is my intestines.
The Torah is in my intestines. What does this mean?
It's part of me, so
It's
integral.
part of me. What's the difference between Torah and mitzvot? Mitzvahs are compared to clothing, to perfume. I put on that film, it's on me. I take off that film, me and that film are two separate things. I give charity in the coin in the pushka. At that moment, I'm fulfilling a mitzvah. A minute later, I'm done. I'm separated from the mitzvah. But what happens when you learn Torah?
Becomes part of it.
Becomes part of you.
It's
like food. It's like food. It's in your intestines. It's in your stomach. It's a part of you. That's what it's all about. That's why.
How does that relate to Jeremiah's kind of new covenant where it talks about internalizing the Torah? Jeremiah chapter 31.
What is he saying? Tell me the words.
I forget the exact words, but I will make a new covenant, and it shall be not written on stone, but written in your heart, basically.
Lev Chodesh, yeah, I remember something. So that's the same idea. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, there is in marriage, there is two steps, Kiddushim and Nisuin. Kiddushim means, the ring under the chuppah. In the olden days, it wasn't a one-thing thing. It used to give the ring today, like the engagement ring. Engagement ring comes from a real ring. It's to be not only engaged, it's sanctified to each other. That means we are committed to each other. We cannot go to somewhere else. And then was the chuppah, was like inviting you to the house and consuming the marriage. Consummating the marriage. You understand what I'm saying? That was two separate things. It was, first of all, you cannot go anywhere else. I cannot go to another woman. She cannot go to another man. We are committed to each other to a point that if they want to, they have to get divorced, they have to need a get after Kiddushin. And then when they had time to make the wedding, they made Nisuin. Today we do it together. Under the chuppah we do the ring. It's all in one shot because you cannot trust anybody today, and then you'll have to need a get. It'll be complicated. That's why in Chabad we don't even give engagement ring by the engagement. We give the engagement ring after the chuppah. Because you don't want to give any engagement, any rings, any commitment that will create a problem later if somebody wants to break off the engagement. Then Kiddushin means what I'm not connected, I'm separated from others. I'm sanctified to you and separated from others. Nisuim is the marriage. Mitzvahs is like the engagement ring. Mitzvah says, I'm separated from everybody else. Right? Actually, that film, why you put that film, you roll over the finger. It's like engagement ring. And in some communities, they say a line, Verastich li leolam, I will marry you forever, from the book of, from one of the prophets, that speaks about a marriage in God and the Jewish people. Chabad doesn't say it, but other places say it. Huh?
Yeah, when I first learned down at Paran to film, that's the way I learned.
You're right. Nisuin, the Torah is the marriage. The mitzvahs is what makes what separates us from other nations. What makes difference, but where is the connection? Where is the connection with God? Is in the Torah. Where we become one. Where we start to think the same. What's a couple? Start to think the same. They start to love the same things. They know what each other wants without saying it. When this happens, when you learn the Torah of God, then you start to think like God. Then you start to know what God wants without God telling you. Then mitzvahs represents the ring, and the Torah represents the chuppah, the inside marriage, the real connection. Okay, then we are. That's the Torah is in your test number 10.
I proclaim your righteousness in large assemblies. Behold, I do not withhold my words, Hashem, you know it. I do not keep your...
I proclaim your righteousness in large assemblies. There were two people known about that. King Moses, Vayakel Moshe. Moses made this big assemblies. He assembled people and he taught them Torah. Because by assembling them, he brings them together. There is a big difference if you learn Torah by yourself or you learn Torah with a group. The light of God, the Shekhinah that's in the Torah when there is a group, is much stronger, especially when you have a minyan, when you learn Torah. But then when you learn Torah with yourself, it's between you and God. There is a connection, but there is no revelation of God. Whereas in a group, there is the higher level of godliness is in the room.
I do not keep your righteousness to myself. I speak of your faithfulness and saving power. I do not conceal your kindness and truth from large assemblies. You, Hashem, do not withhold your compassion from me. May your mercy and truth always protect me. For countless misfortunes surround me. My iniquities have caught up with me so that I cannot see. They outnumber the hairs on my head. Wow.
Oh, see how many enemies he had?
My courage has abandoned me. May it be your will, Hashem, to save me. Hashem, hasten to my aid. Let all those who seek to destroy my life be shamed and humiliated. Let those who wish me harm retreat and be disgraced. Let those who say, aha, over me be shocked because of their disappointment. Let all those who seek you be glad and rejoice in you. Let those who treasure your help always say, Hashem be magnified. Hashem, consider yourself as being my helper and rescuer, since I am poor and needy. My Hashem, do not delay.
I am poor and needy. There is a level of being poor, and there is a level of needy. Needy is even worse than the poor. There is ani and evyon. And in Purim, for example, we give the gifts to the evyonim, matanot la evyonim, to the lowest level of the poor. It's worse than the poor. Evion is somebody who wants everything. Everything he sees he wants because he's so poor, he's so deprived, he's so desperate that he wants everything.
But being needy doesn't necessarily mean you're poor. There are people that.
No. There is even worse than poor. The poor person doesn't want everything.
Right.
The needy wants everything. Evion, to say Evion is needy, Evion is somebody who has nothing. That's what Evion. Talmud says, Ta'ev lechol davar. He is desperate for everything. He desires everything. He has a craving for everything. That's what Evion is. Go ahead, just finish the line.
Since I am poor and needy, my Hashem, do not delay.
Hashem did not delay. And with this in mind, we'll continue next week.